Okay, good morning and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the annual meet and greet of the V2V Global Partnership. This is the second year in a row that we are holding this event. We started about a year, as you all know, in 2020, um, and then we have been working together over this past year on the mission of the V2V. Um, when we started last year, COVID had already hit, and we began to kind of experience the impact of the pandemic in our daily lives, both personally and professionally. And we're still in the under the impact of COVID until now. So we started with the mission of addressing the V2V, the vulnerability to viability in small scale fisheries communities. We thought there would be ways to co-produce knowledge, work collaboratively in interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary teams to address the issues of V2V. So we can then help and work together with fishing communities around the world to help transition from vulnerability to viability. None of us at that point in time thought that we will be really seriously caught in between the two V's. Soon we realized that the vulnerability to viability, the V2V, continues in many other forms. And we are all, as of now, caught between different types of V2V. And the other one is, the vaccine to vaccine, first dose, second dose. So the vulnerabilities and viabilities has become a reality in many forms and shapes over the last 1 year. But our work on the vulnerability to viability continues despite other kinds of V2B or that has come to impact us. But one thing that when we think about the different types of vulnerabilities and viabilities and the V2Vs, whether it is vulnerability to viability or within the pandemic, vaccine to vaccine, we think of the fishing communities that we work with and the, different types of V2V, and to realize them is going to be long-term, goals and long-term activities. So one is the vulnerability to viability, but the other one is, other forms of vulnerability to viability that could be the vaccine to vaccine. I think of the communities that I work, in the Bay of Bengal coast of India, and by the time the vaccine really reaches them, it's going to be a long time, so we have to watch. And the kinds of vulnerabilities that is creating and will create, it's something to watch, and because that's going to impact the small scale fisheries in every corner of the world that we work with. But at the same time, because the work continued, we thought it's a good time to come together to take stock of our collaborations over the past year, where we are, what we have done together. Of course, many things changed because of not being able to work, in person. But we thought it's a good time to come together to take stock. So that's why we have gathered here, and I am here on behalf of the Waterloo Global, Secretariat team with Derek Armitage and Seville Berunji, Ana Carolina Esteves Diaz, and others, and representing the global partnership to host this particular event today. So we have kept it as 2 hours. So we may not need the 2 hours, but at least we can keep it open if everybody is interested to continue the discussions. So the following is the plan for today. If you can please mute yourselves, unless you are speaking. So following my welcome, we will have a video that captures the voices of our students from different countries and providing perspectives on the vulnerability and viability linking to their work. Following that, Derek Armitage and myself will give a quick highlight of the progress and different kinds of work and activities that we have done over the past year. Then we'll open it up for a major chunk of time to hear from all of us that are present on this call, reflections on their experience in the past year's work and activities. So reflections from V2V members and countries. And we have not designated anyone to speak specifically, but it would be an open forum for everyone to participate and reflect on the last 1 year's work. Following that, I would provide an outlook, brief points for what we intend to do in the next 1 year. There will be some important announcements by Seville Barunji, and then we'll close this particular sessions. So welcome to this second meet and greet. And I now invite Seville Barunji, who is our project coordinator, to play the video for us.
My research is focused on Sundarbans, which is the largest mangrove ecosystem in the Asian subcontinent, and also the small-scale fisheries dependent on it. The purpose of my research is to analyze the vulnerabilities caused by the drivers of change in the region and also examine the pathways to viability. I found out from my research by the results that the vulnerabilities do not only affect the small-scale fishery communities in the region, but also highly affect the Sundarbans mangroves, which are of ecological importance because of its variety of ecosystem services that they provide. Also, I examined the coping and adaptive responses, which when practiced sustainably, led to viability of these ecosystems as well as the livelihoods of the small-scale fisheries.
My research will focus on factors of poverty and vulnerability, in particular, the coral habitat distribution, marine resource use pattern, and the level of stakeholder participation in monitoring, surveillance, and also management. I plan to investigate the extent of the relationship between each factor to the livelihood of small-scale fishers as a means to attest them as vulnerabilities which really need to be addressed to seek viability and uplift poverty of the small-scale fishers into Mustafa Park.
My research focuses on small-scale fisheries adaptive responses to impact of oil and gas extraction. As we all know, oil and gas support the GDP and foreign exchange of many host countries. However, they pose a wide range of vulnerability issues, such as declining well-being, decline in capitals, and lack of resilience or poor resilience. And so my research is trying to understand how small-scale fisheries have been able to respond to these vulnerabilities and to help them transition from vulnerabilities to viabilities.
So let's say we are a community made up of fishers who depends on fishery for survival. Then we wake up one day to face unexpected, that is, there is a current ocean rise, there is a rising temperature, there is flood, there is drought, there is even tsunami, just name it, which of course we know is caused by climate change, which is a global threat to human lives and environmental sustainability. Now, as vulnerable as we become, prone to diseases, our health is at risk, there is loss of livelihoods, there is food insecurity, our well-being and our social lives are being impacted, among others. What can we do as a community to be able to cope and adapt to the situation at hand? Or what mechanisms or policies can both the public and the private sector, such as the government, the NGOs, the agencies, among others, put in place in order for us to become viable?
My research about the vulnerability of small-scale fisheries in coastal communities and how they adapt to face vulnerabilities to have more viable life, taking place in current conservation waters, the Gang Regency, Central Java, Indonesia.
My research is focused on bycatch, which is usually defined as the incidental capture of non-target species during fishing operations. And I'm specifically looking at the bycatch of cetaceans, which are dolphins, whales, and porpoises. And this contributes to the notion of vulnerability to viability because bycatch is currently not being managed sustainably, while it affects fisher livelihoods and also cetacean livelihoods. Fishers currently do not receive support to actually deal with bycatch events, and also the definition of bycatch does not even distinguish between large mammals and like dolphins, whales, and porpoises and other species such as marine invertebrates, sea turtles, and other species. So I hope with my research by addressing bycatch policies and the definition of bycatch, this will help to properly represent both fishers and cetaceans and help find ways for fishers and cetaceans to coexist and therefore remain viable for the long term.
My research is focused on the development of typologies using case studies to learn about the experiences of marine communities on how they respond to global changes while using iAdapt framework. While comparing and synthesizing between the case studies, my research will focus on to integrate the knowledge from past experiences, which provides ample of opportunities for the marine communities to respond to the global changes following other successful case stories. My research is motivated from the literature gaps that there is the absence of opportunity for the marine communities to learn by looking at other successful case stories around the world. My research is supported by V2V Global Partnership and is closely related to the knowledge co-production team of V2V Global Partnership.
My research focuses on aligning the FAO-SSF guidelines to the Japan fisheries governance. Though implementation of the FAO-SSF guidelines is being called out even more recent years, with emerging issues and concerns resulting from the blue economy, blue growth initiatives, and its impact on sustainability of small-scale fisheries. The guidelines are by no way well implemented in Japan, a country known as a fisheries and oceans nation. My research is to clarify the true situations of the Japanese fisheries governance system from the lens of SSF guidelines and to analyze the challenges and future perspectives, which I believe will contribute significantly to Japanese small-scale fisheries transitioning from vulnerability to viability.
My research is focused on understanding the role of water quality, impact and vulnerability of small-scale fisheries. My research addresses the vulnerability and viability of small-scale fisheries in Chilika Lagoon, India, using iAdapt case study.
I am focusing on mangrove forests because they are so important to understand as they are so integral to the millions of small-scale fishing communities that are dependent on them for their livelihoods, as they facilitate so much biodiversity and support the vast stocks of marine life that people need for their livelihoods. And after reading about how the wrath of colonialism and commercialization has destroyed over half of all mangrove stands, I really wanted to learn more about how resilience and viability can be mobilized in these communities. So my research plan is currently to do case studies of 2 mangrove dependent small-scale fishing communities in the Sundarban forest. As well, I'm going to do a global survey that will remotely engage communities in the different V2V project countries and scale up the insights from this research to a global context.
Due to poor management and excessive tourism activities, the marine protected areas have failed in the fundamental objective of conserving and protecting marine resources. As a result, the livelihoods of small-scale fishers in the coastal areas of Malaysia are at risk. My research focuses on how external pressure and weak governance create degradation of marine resources and threaten the livelihoods of small-scale fishes in marine protected areas in Peninsular Malaysia. Through an in-depth understanding of the problems faced by these fishers, my research aims to find areas to improve with a view to strengthening their resilience. The study location is Pulau Perhentian Marine Park.
In my research, I aim to provide a perspective of what needs to be done in the small-scale fishing communities of Rio Lagartos in Mexico to make a transition from vulnerability to viability, with tourism and fishing as main drivers. I explore approaches for sustainable development, conservation, and community-based planning. I also explore how the fishing sector fits into tourism in this specific region and what market niches are available between both activities that can integrate more the fishers' participation. The findings of my research can be similarly analyzed and applied to other small-scale fishing communities and tourism environments with interrelated characteristics, where tourism is already part of its economic dynamics or could be in the future.
So before starting my PhD, my research interests have mainly focused on single species conservation genetics, and this includes bats, fishers, and fish. However, through all of my projects, I recognized that I was missing human dimensions. For my PhD research, I am interested in trying to identify species that are both socially and ecologically important within a small-scale fisheries community. And I'm also trying to examine how changes in these species have impacted social ecological systems.
My research about building food safety, the title is Managing Food Safety of Fisheries Commodity Through Stakeholder Empowerment. The vulnerable to viability concept is absent of capital and must have resilience of small-scale fisheries. This is related with my research because absence of capital like of infrastructure, poor access capital, and marginalized and poor access to policy have contributed to the law of quality commodities fisheries.
In my research, I am going to understand the impacts of COVID-19 on small-scale fisheries and the local communities. Where COVID-19 is showing its impacts globally, it has made the already vulnerable ones suffer more. So through this research, I'm going to understand how and what are the vulnerabilities COVID-19 has caused in all of the capitals and how the SLF community respond to them. Lately, a governance mechanism will be developed through adaptive co-management where locals and the stakeholders will work together for their viability during and post-COVID times.
For a moment, I want you all to imagine how horrible it would be to not feel at your best and not be able to get any help. I bring this idea to showcase my research. Essentially, my research focuses on finding ways to improve and advise local public health policies in small-scale fisheries such that better mental health care for suffering individuals can be provided. This contributes to V2V as SSF are a population that severely lack necessary aid in this domain. Mental health causes significant ecological, personal, and social vulnerabilities that affect their already poverty-driven livelihoods. Hence, by making resources for mental health accessible, their vulnerability can be reduced and their viability can be improved. The goal is to have semi-structured open interviews to be conducted in 3 separate fishery lagoons in India, Malawi, and Malaysia, so that guidelines are driven from asking the community what they specifically need. The end goal would be a list of recommendations that can aid in supporting viable governance response in public and private policy, civil society, NGOs, and community institutions.
I have recently joined as a PhD, project PhD in the V2V research project, and we used to work on the political ecology and vulnerability aspects of small-scale fishery in the Bay of Bengal region in India. My specific focus would be on applying the concept of political ecology within the broader theoretical framework of in the wetland context and studying various aspects of vulnerability related to socioeconomic, ecological, and climate change associated with small-scale fishery-based livelihood in the Chilika Lagoon in Odisha. The proposed research would also focus on the policy, governance, institutional aspects of small-scale fishery-based livelihood, and also study resilience and adaptive capacity of the fishing community in Chilika.
Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the students that contributed to this wonderful, wonderful video. These are not just voices from the student community within V2V. This will keep us inspiring for many more years that we are all set to work on the V2V. And this just shows the diversity of ideas, interest, and motivation that exists within the network. And this is actually, helps us to lay a really wonderful foundation to do what we are set out to do. We'll have more reflections on this when we come to the reflection session, but I would now move on with a two-part presentation on highlighting some of the work that we have done in the past 1 year. So give me a sec. So I'm just going to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we are seeing.
Okay. So this is a two-part presentation, as I said, and the idea is to bring some of the highlights from the past year, not get into details at all, because we all know what we have done, because this is all collaborative work over the past 1 year. And we have been communicating with each other on what we have been doing through newsletters, through other means. So the idea is not to get into details, absolutely. So the two-part presentation comprises of 4 different aspects. One, I'm going to focus on the project governance aspect and also briefly speak to some of the highlights in terms of how the partnership has developed. And then I will hand it over to Derek Armitage, my colleague here in Waterloo, who is going to talk about highlights on the research front, as well as on the knowledge mobilization, on the knowledge products front. So I will start with reminding ourselves about the core values or the objectives that we all started and agreed together 2 years back, actually, because I'm taking us back to when we actually started writing the project proposal itself. So the 4 objectives briefly, can be mentioned in terms of, the idea around co-producing and, knowledge on V2V. Co-producing knowledge with all stakeholders, but communities, fishing communities being one of the significant partners, and using iAdapt as a common methodological framework. Co-producing knowledge became one of our main objectives. The second objective we set for ourselves is developing or capturing all of that knowledge within a database. So we called it V2V information system and database, where all the case studies will be shared and used in a systematic way, so that we can bring out outputs and results from that. The third one is building capacity for the future generations through transdisciplinary capacity development processes. So that's our third objective. And the fourth one is really bringing all these diverse experience within the network to scale up, to design and articulate governance and synthesis mechanisms whereby the V2V notion can be realized in the real world. So to that effect, from a governance, a project governance perspective, this is a very familiar kind of figure here. which is part of our project proposal, we decided that there is going to be 3 layers within our governance structure of the project. Of course, the foundational layer is going to be the country and the regional network that comprises of the 12 key countries, partner countries, and the teams in those countries that that is spread across 2 geographical large regions, Africa and Asia, and that comprises of Ghana, Nigeria, Ghana, Nigeria, Tanzania, Senegal, Malawi, and South Africa. So those are the 6 countries in Africa, and then Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Japan, and Thailand in Asia. So those are our core countries, but our work basically then goes beyond these 6 countries in terms of implementation and impact. So that's the foundational level, and then the second level we said the thematic layer within the governance structure, which primarily consists of the 5 working groups, and 4 working groups are actually something that corresponds with our 4 objectives, and the 5th one is the knowledge mobilization. And at the management and coordination layer of the governance, we have what we have in Waterloo, the secretariat, as we would like to call it, that comprises of various people, starting with the project coordinator and myself, Derek, and the team here, including the postdoctoral fellow and others. So those are the 3 layers, and the highlights that I'm going to make will correspond with these 3 layers. So let's first take the foundational layer, which is the country and the regional network. Sorry. So that's the layer I'm going to talk first, followed by the other layers. So in terms of project governance at the country and the regional network, the first year was well spent on building country level teams, arranging and rearranging the leadership at the country level, and setting processes at that particular level, because this is our foundation, as I mentioned. And each of the countries have multiple partners, multiple individuals, institutions that have come together to take the V2V notion forward. So the first year was sorry of that. The first year was spent in engaging in multiple activities. So one of the key activities at the country level, and of course, in collaboration with the Secretariat here in Waterloo, is to plan, have several planning meetings with country coordinators that we did in 2020, really to look at 2 particular things. One is to look at the country team composition, because originally we thought, and it continues to be our aspiration as well, to have academic, NGOs, civil society, and government institutions and collaborators together forming the team. And so that's the ideal composition we thought. So in this first phase of meetings with country coordinators, we looked at how that composition looks like in each of those countries. In some places we had more government partners and less NGOs. So those kind of things we looked at and try to kind of bring in new partners and talk to new people that are actually missing from the partnership at the country level. So we looked at country team composition in a serious way through the help of the country coordinators and other partners within the country itself. We engaged in leadership definitions and agreed upon, because each country has 2 country coordinators. In some places, as it has emerged in the last 1 year, there are 3 country coordinators that have come up. So it depends on the context, it depends on the country and the kinds of leadership that is available and the way people work with each other together. So the country coordinators and the leadership roles and responsibilities were defined in the year 1. Then moving forward, many countries went ahead with the country level team meetings, really workshops to discuss, how they would like to take forward the notion of V2V in their specific context, of course, in collaboration with the other countries and the larger network, including the Secretariat. So there were meetings that took place in each of those countries to decide on the future course of action. Then countries also engaged in research activity plans and budgets, that were supported through drafting of guidebooks on research plan and how to do budgets. And we had webinars that were done in the first year, and following that, each country engaged in a rich process of planning their activities, research activities, and making plans and creating resource plans and budgets in the first year. And many countries have then proceeded with recruiting students and research personnel, and recruitments have taken place. So basically, this was a year that kept most of our countries active and engaged in building the teams, defining roles and responsibilities, bringing in new people, including students and research personnel in that level. That brings us to the second level, which is a thematic level within our governance structure. And this is actually about the 5 working groups, because these working groups are the vehicles through which our research on V2V continues and will continue. The first in the series is the I Adapt case study, which is led by Aleda Bundy and Priscilla Lopez, and supported by Ana Carolina Diaz, who is a postdoctoral fellow based in Waterloo in Canada. So I Adapt case study has been fully activated. I Adapt case study working group has been fully activated. They had held several meetings over the last 1 year to really come up with a plan for the working group and developing templates, working on defining the case studies, where the Adapt case studies will be actually researched upon. So that working group has come in and continuing to do its activities with the help of the members and the partners. The second one is the synthesis integration for governance, V2V SIG, which is at this point led by Derek Armitage, but it would include more leadership positions in future. The situational analysis, which is being done by all countries, is part of this particular working group. Derek is now working with Ana Carolina Diaz, who is a postdoctoral fellow, as I have already mentioned, in taking the situational analysis. So they have come up with drafts of situational analysis, which are being finalized, and they could, of course, talk about this in more detail when it comes to his presentation. And this working group is also active at this point in time, but basically focusing on the situational analysis at the country level. The third is the information system, which is at this point led by Simran Singh and Priyadarshi Patnaik. Simran Singh is at Waterloo, Priyadarshi Patnaik from Indian Institute of Technology in India. So they are gearing up to start their work, linking the information system with the Adapt working group, because the case studies would go into the information system itself. The fourth one is the transdisciplinary capacity development, led by Ratana Chueng Pagdi and Shwang Yantaf. So there are many capacity development activities that are taking place, but there is at this point different discussions with especially I Adapt case study working group and others that are taking place, which will then help bring this working group fully active to develop and implement various capacity development activities in the year 2 and further. The fifth one is knowledge mobilization at this point, led by Jessica Blythe, and Jessica is already talking to Emzad Haq from Manitoba. And they're also watching the work of other working groups and other research activities that are taking place. So they intend to be fully active during the year 2. So year 2, we are looking at 5 working groups coming to being fully functional and engaging and collaborating and working with members and institutions within the network and contribute to each of the research objectives of V2V. The third layer is the management and the coordination. Of course, work at the other 2 layers that I have already mentioned, the country and regional network and thematic layers, are fully supported by the management and the coordination. So the team in Waterloo, the Secretariat, is closely working with the 2 other layers that I have just mentioned in doing a series of activities and coordination and support work to help these layers function fully and actively in realizing the objectives of the V2V global partnership. So what have we done? In terms of management and coordination at the Secretariat, the first year was, of course, the time for us to set our team right. So at this point, our Seville Barunji, who is our project coordinator, Derek Armitage, and myself, so we coordinate the day-to-day activities of the Secretariat and also collaborate and support the activities of the V2V Global Partnership. Of course, Ana Carolina Esteves Diaz is our postdoctoral fellow and is a core member of this particular team in providing different support and interactions with our members of our entire partnership. In addition to that, we have research support in terms of people who are working part-time, Farosat Almesova, and then we have, as you already saw, a rich group of graduate students with project responsibilities. And to say that because in addition to their research, they participate in delivering on the various objectives of the project and take really important responsibilities in our coordination, in our support activities at the Secretariat itself. And we could not do it without the support of our graduate students. So they take specific responsibilities. There are Waterloo co-applicants at this point, Andrea Collins, Jeremy Pittman, and Simran Singh, who are part of the Waterloo team here and helping with and supporting various activities of the Secretariat at Waterloo. And of course, Waterloo being the host institution, it automatically makes several people and units at Waterloo. For example, the Office of Research that many of you are interacting with already, our members of the core team at Waterloo itself. So it's a kind of a large team, but also specific responsibilities that have been taken up by different individuals at Waterloo, at the Secretariat, the goal to fulfill the objectives of our partnership. There's a project management team. Of course, the project management team was defined in our governance structure, which will be myself, Derek Armitage as the co-chair, and 2 members from our project support steering committee. So at this point, Ratana Chungpagdi and Alida Bundi are members of the project management team, along with myself, Derek Armitage, and also the ex-officio member, which is the project coordinator, Seville Barunji, at this point in time. We said we will meet the project management team would meet every year once in person. But because of the pandemic, we actually ended up meeting several times, and it has been a crucial support and advice and guidance that we have received through the project management team, and thanks to Ratana and Alida and others that are involved in this project management team itself at this point in time. Well, as I mentioned in point number 1, team building and recruitment have taken place. That includes, of course, our project manager. Simar Kaur was our first project coordinator that spent almost a year with us, setting up the crucial processes within the team. And Simar had to leave us for another opportunity that she found in another part of Canada. So Seville has come in, and she is a wonderful project coordinator, taking all the responsibilities and providing a really good direction and coordination to all our activities. So team building is still ongoing, but we think that we are a confident team at this point in time with our graduate students, of course, at Waterloo and beyond, to deliver on whatever we have set ourselves as objectives. And then project and research communication is something that we do as part of our management and coordination activities at Waterloo. In the last 1 year, we worked on some of the major documentation and reporting activities, which are from a governance point of view, were crucial. The first is the milestone report. That was a requirement from SARC, and you all have a copy of the milestone report that we shared, which helped us to kind of re-articulate our goals and objectives and activities and plans for the next 3 or 4 years. And actually the milestone report details that we have provided in that report would be up for assessment at the midterm evaluation by SARC. And the second major activity that took place in terms of project governance is the annual contribution summary. Thanks to everyone that provided us the contribution details that people have made even before the monies were transferred to some of these countries. And we were successfully able to submit the annual contribution summary to SARC. And I'm happy to report that out of the 33% required contribution over the entire duration of the project, we went beyond 10% in the first year. Of course, there is a catch in there. Most of the contributions were from Waterloo being the host institutions, but with monies now being transferred to each of the V2V countries, we're looking forward to this contribution from countries and partners around the network to increase in the next annual cycle of contribution summary. And then we are in the process of finalizing the transfer agreements, and this is something that many of you already know, and we have already finalized and signed, and monies have been transferred to several institutions. Others are in process, and that's a massive process because we are looking at more than 24, 25 institutions that are in the countries that are receiving the resources to make things happen resource-wise in the countries itself. In terms of partnership development, which has been another key activity, the partnership development activities have taken place within and beyond the V2V network. Okay, and we look at partnership processes as multi-level and multi-dimensional. So in that sense, case study communities have been finalized, and that's our core level of partnership, because partnership with the community is the lifeline of this particular project. So with the help of the country teams, the IADAPT case study communities have been either finalized or contact established. So that's the basic layer of partnership development within the project that has taken place. Country to country interactions has increased, but at the same time, country to the global secretariat, the central team here, that interaction has also become stronger, and we have now processes and things in place that can guide us in taking the interactions further. And then the third layer is the coming together of the V2V graduate students, because there are many graduate student events that have taken place, and it is not restricted to one region only or one institution. Whenever we have graduate student events, we open it up for everyone. So the graduate student platform includes all graduate students from all countries and all member institutions, and that collaboration, that partnership between graduate students has really become stronger and stronger over the last 1 year. And there are also examples of many collaborations. And as I said in the beginning, I'm not going to go into details, but just name or highlight some of them. So this collaboration were again not only limited to collaboration that was taken place, that took place in India, with the collaboration of TBTI, DFM, and V2B. DFM, V2B, and MARE, DFM and V2B organized sessions at a MARE conference that was just there last week. There are other collaborations, V2B COSIS, one of the NGOs in India, ongoing work with IMBER, CCRN, OCP, Ocean Canada, and others that is going on. Collaborations with student groups in Waterloo, Environment Defense Fund, and Small Scale Fisheries Hub. Fish Score 2030, which is a UNESCO led initiative for the UN Ocean Decade, and Derek is involved in that. So that connected us with the Fish Score 2030 project, and of course the upcoming V2B Chilika Field School next month. That is a collaboration of the V2B IIT Kharagpur and Nirman. And the last, but not the least, is adding new partners. We have been successful in collaborating with new partners and bringing them as partners to the V2B. That includes, but not limited to, again, World Fish, Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai, several institutions, government and non-government in Malaysia, and others. So I think that's a highlight of what we have been doing in terms of project governance and partnership development. Now I will pass it on to Derek to take you over to research overview and knowledge mobilization. Thank you.
Okay, super, thanks. It's great to see everybody out as well for the meeting. It's really wonderful. And I just want to say my thoughts and wishes for everyone to stay safe and well also. I'm just going to very briefly talk a little bit about our research activities and also some of the knowledge mobilization things. Obviously, one of when it comes to research, we really have two connected activities, and we spent a lot of our time on that. And this really provides a foundation for us for the next several years. And so we're really excited about that. And despite COVID and despite the challenges and despite the fact that we haven't been able to be together in person, I think we have a lot to be happy about, a lot to be proud about for the efforts from everybody. And so we're really appreciative of that. And so, of course, these things are connected as well. I'll start just briefly talking about the situational analysis. And of course, a big shout out to Anna Carolina, whom many of you have been in contact with for helping lead this initiative. And so Prateep, if you can just flip the slide over. The goal of the situational analysis, as many of you will remember, is really to understand the country context to foster this transition of small-scale fisheries from vulnerability to viability. And so we developed this process with everybody where we really provide a foundation for generating that knowledge, that understanding about the issues of vulnerability and viability through this collaborative approach. And so we developed a template initially, and we got everyone involved in sort of thinking about how that may help us inform our analysis. And once that template was developed, we started with the situational analysis. And so we've been amazed at the outcome of this to date. We've had lots of interesting results. Thinking about the different drivers, the intertwined drivers and the multiple drivers of vulnerability in small-scale fisheries, and the trade-offs in vulnerabilities and opportunities for viabilities, and how those are connected to different domains. And so, with the situational analysis really being one of the first research activities that we've been able to accomplish together, we've completed those for all countries. Updates and revisions are all underway, and we're really excited because all these transitioned into working papers, V2V working papers, and I think those that are involved in that know that we've spent some time thinking about how to transition into those working paper formats, and so that's a really valuable output. And then, of course, with engagement, everybody who's been involved in the country level situation analyses, we're going to be working, and we are working now, on this global analysis. So bringing all those insights from the different countries together, trying to make sense across the board of some of the common themes and issues and challenges and opportunities when it comes to thinking about vulnerability to viability. And so we're really looking forward to this co-developed, co-authored, large-scale approach. It's really going to set the stage to show that the V2V as a project, as a team, is really offering some new and exciting insights. And so it's a great baseline for us as a project, and lots of great resources for those both inside and outside the V2V as well. So that's one of the key activities. The second big one is the iAdapt process, and a really huge thanks to Alida and Priscilla and Anna Carolina for driving this process and for really making great strides in terms of the iAdapt work. You know, the goal of the iAdapt, as going all the way back, as Prateep talked about, way back to when we were developing this proposal, is to provide that common framework for us to understand the vulnerabilities and the viabilities confronting small-scale fisheries. And so the iAdapt framework and typology provides that entry point for really rich empirical understanding at the case study context level. It's going to transition into really important policy insights at the country level as well. And of course, we're really interested in building some of the theory around what constitutes vulnerability and viability, using the iAdapt as the entry point for that. So again, the iAdapt is really the central piece. It's core to our project. It links to the case study communities, which is so important. And like the situational analysis, the iAdapt team has facilitated a whole range of meetings and developed this work plan, which I think was presented in the May meeting as well, which really highlights the different phases that the iAdapt working group and the process has envisioned, from thinking about some of the training to the case study selection to some of the background literature work that's being done, ultimately into some of the field work, and then the links to the information system process, to transdisciplinary capacity development. So again, the iAdapt has been a really central piece of our project. So those are our two core research activities, and again, we're making great strides in that despite the challenges that we've confronted, and we really have an excellent foundation for moving forward. So we're really excited about that, and I think Prateep and others will talk a little bit about that, and maybe we can reflect on sort of where we're at with this process as well in a few moments. So that's the research piece. And then the other big piece that we're really proud of, we're making really excellent progress on, is the knowledge mobilization activities that we've been involved in. And a big thanks as well to Simar and now Seville for really setting the foundation for all this work. I think we've had fantastic participation from our V2V community, and of course, that is the foundation for knowledge mobilization. The next slide, which Prateep can share, is really this wonderful collage of all the activities, all the knowledge mobilization activities that we've been involved in over the past year and a bit. It's really kind of amazing when you step back and think about what's been accomplished. So, of course, many of you have been involved and participated in the thematic webinars. This has been a wonderful opportunity for us as a team to engage with a wide range of experts and learn from their expertise on different dimensions of issues confronting small-scale fisheries. Again, as you know, we have often great question and answer opportunities in those thematic webinars. So despite the fact that we're so far removed from each other, we still have lots of engagement, great questions from community members, and a nice dialogue. And those are all, of course, recorded and on YouTube and stuff like that. So really setting a foundation for the voice of V2V in many ways. So really proud about that. We've had a whole series of project webinars, and this has a lot to do with capacity development and mobilizing knowledge in that way, from Zotero training to the iAdapt training to the situational analysis, capacity development activities. Again, these things have been widely attended and have had great participation from the V2V team. So we're super proud of all the accomplishments there. As I mentioned already, we're developing this new working paper series. Those situational analyses reports are going to be the first of those examples, but we'll have other opportunities to have different types of working papers, depending on what country teams feel is important and helpful for them. So that's another thing to keep an eye out. Of course, beyond the working paper, many of our V2V team members are, of course, very busy publishing peer-reviewed journals and policy briefs and books, of course, as well, and edited volumes. And so we've had a series of sessions related to some of those books and outputs, and with links to our partners, like the CCRN, the TBTI, and others, of course, really active in this space. And so we're really fortunate to be able to be part of that and building on that legacy as well. So, and no doubt we'll be continuing to develop other academic outputs like books and papers and things that will find an audience. So that's another great thing. We've had TD training and of Of course, the upcoming field school for early career researchers is a big part of this process. We've had photos of the week, which has been really lots of fun to see, various members submitting photos from different contexts in which they're working and engaging with communities. And I really want to highlight here again that the V2V newsletter, which really is this valuable sort of one-stop place you can go to get a sense of all the different activities that we are working on as a group and as a team. And so I'd really encourage you to share that newsletter widely. It's in obviously digital form. And please, I'm sure you get this message from Seville and Prateep and others, but please, if you have things you want to share, the newsletter is a great way for us to do that. It has a large and growing network of people we're sending this newsletter to, so the reach of that newsletter is really becoming quite impressive. And all these things are captured in that. So that's a summary of all the knowledge mobilization activities, and really in this collage that Seville put together really is this wonderful sort of encapsulates just how much we're doing and the dynamic nature in which we're doing it. So really, really pleased with that. So I'm sure I've missed a lot of things that we can chat about, but we thought maybe this would be a good opportunity for us to just take a few moments and open up the floor for reflections from all of you, from our V2V country team members and others engaged in the project, and to think a little bit about your research activities and where you're at, and maybe think about maybe some of the other knowledge mobilization activities that you're interested in engaging in, what your plans are for the coming months. And I think we have a little bit of time to do that. So we want to open up the floor to others, and I'll let Prateep help facilitate that process as well. But please feel free to jump in. You can, of course, raise your hand if you want to say something and unmute your mic, or you can put something in the chat. I see some nice commentary in the chat already. And so please feel free to add your reflections at this stage. It's a more open-ended kind of opportunity for conversation. And of course, in the meantime, I invite Alida and Anna Carolina, if I've missed anything important with the situational analysis and iAdapt work, you can jump in as well. But thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can raise your hand or just come on the video and then reflect. Yeah, this is really the time to
Nobody is talking. Hello.
Hi, Rashid.
Yeah. Nobody is raises his or her hand. No.
Not yet, but Rashid, if you want to say something, you're more than welcome to do so. And of course, you were one of our first contributors to the thematic webinar. You got us started with that, so we're very appreciative of that when you did that. So thanks.
Yeah, so let me say that, especially because I have to move on to have a panel meeting not long from now. So yeah, so this is really great, excellent. It's really good to see students already in action all over. I mean, COVID-19 notwithstanding, this is like many people have said, this already excellent progress. This is good. So I was wondering when Prateep, you were talking, and also Derek later, I was wondering in the student projects, how much of subsidies have appeared in the student projects, and also in the situational analysis, because I'm thinking that could be one driver, one thing the project can look at and actually talk about how to move from vulnerability to viability, given the proportions of national subsidies that go to large scale, and then they kind of put small scale fisheries in jeopardy.
Do you want to go first, Prateep?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, maybe, how this has figured in the situational analysis, something that I will leave to you and Anna to respond. But I think one of the debates that has started in smaller forums is about, the question about development fund, and social welfare funds in these countries, and how there might be an impact because of diversion of that fund to, say, pandemics like COVID. Okay. But also in certain places, for example, where there are cyclones that hit every year in a couple of times, especially the Bay of Bengal coast that we are.
Yeah, see. Yeah.
Prateep just froze. Hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah, we lost him.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll jump in, Rashid, until that's a really good question. I'm actually not sure of how much we've actually had explicit mention of subsidies in the situational analyses. Some of the country teams may be able to weigh in if that emerged.
But within the studio.
Oh. So anyway, that's something I think it's a really interesting question and maybe a gap that we want to explore further for sure. So I'm gonna flag that for something to look into.
The good thing about it is we build on our previous works, right? Which is what V2V is doing, from right on a small scale to our Ocean Canada, which many of us are already part of, and so on, right? And previously we've built up this database and we've shown the proportions that goes to small scale versus large scale. So I think that gives an opening for discussing gender, for example, right? More women fish small scale than large scale. The youth, how do they come into play? Developing countries versus developed. So I think there's a lot of material that this project can just integrate in some way and do nice stuff. We can talk about it. I just sent to you and Prateep some chat notes.
Yeah. And then the whole question about subsidies and blue economy, so so that's a very interesting question. And
and the key point is that not all subsidies are bad. We just want the good subsidies, right?
Yes.
And that helps people and supports nature rather than destroy for everybody, Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rashid. I think Maniba, you had your hand up.
Yes, I couldn't let Rashid take the lead, so I also have to chip in if he comes in first. Hello, everybody. Hi, Rashid. It's lovely to see you and hear you. I wanted to just where Prateep mentioned now, I think that the threats is becoming also quite big in terms of the blue economy for many small-scale fishers. So I do think that, when you look at the issues of subsidies and gender, I think sometimes even case-specific, it might be a bigger threat. So I do think the issues around the blue economy is important, and also maybe a little bit of advertising, but we may not have time for that, is the issues around marine protected areas that are part of the blue economy agenda, but also marine spatial planning that are also threatening small-scale fishers' activities. And I think I will connect with Prateep and Derek around an exciting new project on looking at a counter-narrative in conservation spaces, particularly on marine protected areas. So I hope that could definitely feed into some of the work on V2V. but it definitely impacts on small-scale fisheries. So yeah, great presentations from the students. I'm so proud of all of you. And the fact that there are so many women that are doing this is really, thank you, Pratib and Derek, and all of those who are ensuring that women are being promoted through this project, notwithstanding that we also have some of the males that are doing their research, but I think it is important. And also brown women, that is also a good thing. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Manuel. I see Imdad. Imdad, you have your hand.
Yes, Pratip. Thank you for the time.
Okay. Congratulations to the team members. I see 56 people joining from all over the world. So it's very, very exciting indeed, but we have crossed a very critical time in this COVID situation. But I'm very pleased and excited to see so many student projects. It's wonderful achievement. All credit goes to Pradeep, Derek, and other team leaders in different countries. I just want to reflect on that. Although we have navigated under Pradeep and Derek's and others' leadership through this difficult time, but it's a foundation time. So it was not that difficult because it didn't happen in the middle. In this foundation stage, it was difficult, challenging, but I think it's a very good start indeed to see so diverse people with so many interesting student projects and others. But I want to also highlight one point that Derek just elaborated very nicely about this situational analysis. I think that it is a scope to identify the critical knowledge gaps and practice, because we learn all from literature, from published books and journal articles, so and so. But here in this project, you have people on the ground who really seeing lived experience that can be accommodated and identify at this point in time that strategic topic that this project can add critical value, because the project will be over in 7 years time, but adding value because it's an opportunity, tremendous opportunity to strike the most critical areas relating to small scale fisheries. So I think situational analysis can help to identify, I emphasize the critical knowledge gap, not general knowledge gaps and practice. That can be done through literature review. But those critical areas, if you can identify and address some of those issues for research and action research, could be a very good vehicle to move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just jump in. I think that's a great point, and I think that's certainly the hope that we can follow through on that. And for me, I think this idea of really focusing on the core gaps and the value added of the V2V is a really important opportunity for us. And I think it feeds in as well to the iAdapt process, and that's where the situation analysis helps set the stage in the broader context, and the iAdapt really at the case study level can focus in on some of those really core issues. That'll be, I think, a choice for country teams as well, though, as to what makes the most sense, given their different contexts, the different policy challenges being confronted, where they want to really emphasize their work. So I think that's the value of the V2V. We have a very decentralized kind of approach, and really learning from the bottom up is sort of, I think, the core principle of how we're trying to approach things. So, but yeah, thank you.
Inda, were you trying to say something? Yeah, Inda?
Yes.
Please.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's wonderful for today meetings. We have a great meeting and also gatherings together in our one word in one our PC. So thank you, Pratap and Derek and the others colleagues, those who already initiate and arrange such a good research. I'm so surprised that it's wonderful for our student projects, which is able to research the V2V and with the variation, and hope will able to help at least to shed light for the case in each of countries and also region. And highly appreciated to Pratip, Derek, and also the other colleagues who are able to manage such a good project for this V2V. And the secondly is I saw that many researchers for several countries, of course here given in a picture show in our zooming. So I saw many of them are women. And also we have also a research project regarding with related to the woman empowerment as well in small scale fisheries. So this is also a good power for us to gather and also to develop and for further projects for the V2V. And then the third thing is the networking in the world, and it is already expressed in a V2V. And if you might able to express your sense of crisis regarding with the COVID-19. So the V2V now is not only from vulnerable to viable, but vaccine to vaccine. That's an interesting word of Pratap in this earlier meeting. So I might also just suggest why don't we see the part of our work in a V2V with a special thing regarding with the issue of COVID, the impact toward the small scales. Now, I can tell that in Java as well as in Bali, so in practice, fisher now not going to the sea to catch a fish and the others because of a COVID. Of course, in Indonesia now is a little bit worsen the situation of COVID. Perhaps will be similar to the India context. So if we have say a 10%, so 6 of them are positive, and perhaps with the very in a bad situation. Therefore, especially for the small scale fisher, I saw in a field that they are very suffered. And it's not only the small scalers, even the large scalers, and also the government itself is in a bad situation to handle the COVID as well. So why don't in our project of V2V, we can say a part of our project, the impact of the COVID, and also how we can say give a panacea at least, or the exchange research at this moment as our expression regarding with the suffering COVID. Thank you very much for the chance, and I hope we are in a good health. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Inda. Yeah, I know we are all reflecting, so there is no, no needs to respond to that. But just on the COVID and the V2V research, I think COVID is already becoming a major research topic within the network. As you might have seen, some students in their voices on the video started talking about exploring COVID and small scale fisheries. and in other cases, when they look at various drivers of vulnerability and viability, COVID then becomes one of the drivers. So I know some of the students that are working on pandemic as a driver, along with cyclones. So it is there already. But a lot would emerge from the local country specific case studies and the context of research, where these teams would bring up really issues that they're beginning to grapple with in terms of COVID. I feel so insufficient myself, having not traveled in the last 1.5 years. Just being on the phone with the fishing communities that I work with, I can already imagine the new set of issues and challenges that are going to come up when you really, go to that community. And I don't know how to deal with that. When I first arrive in Chilica, after who knows, 2 years, 3 years, whenever I am allowed to go there, that's going to be a moment, of crisis for me to be able to grab, take those new issues and then process it and then come up with some points to interact with the small scale fisheries in that coast that I work with. So yes, I completely agree. But everything that we know about, I would say, several things we don't know. And they will only emerge when we start to kind of do more and more interactions, engage in active research, in person engagements with the fishing communities. But the work is already going on in many countries because of their presence in those countries and their ongoing interaction with the communities. So yes, I agree completely what we are saying. Yes. I don't see any other hands being raised, but yeah, Ali, go ahead, please. You need to unmute yourself, Ali.
Yes, I would like, thanks a lot. I already sent some message to congratulate all of you. I would like just very briefly to endorse, support what have been said by Rashid and Moniba, but specific to blue economy. It's very important to integrate, this issue, this thematic, both in what we are doing with students and even in case studies, for two main reasons. I will be very brief. The first is that for talking about Africa, all our regional, sub-regional, and even continental, organization, namely the African Union today, is highly promoting blue economy. It looks like the only thing they have in their agenda is blue economy. And it will, when implemented, it will engender some effect that will really, for me, it will be the end of small-scale fisheries, because we're talking about rights. We're talking about, we're talking about blue justice, we're talking about human rights, related to fisheries. The first right, traditional right that these people are claiming is having access to the marine, lands, marine, resource, to the marine, to the sea, for example, and also to coastal, zones. But with, blue economy, and in a context of, of oil and gas, exploitation, promotion today, it will imply many, many effects. It has to be really, documented and be part of our research, agenda. It's a very important. I didn't see, I didn't, see this, this issue that is very important, emerge from what has been presented, by the student, that I appreciate a lot. That's what I would like really to say. Thanks a lot again.
Are there other voices that we can hear?
Yeah, Pradeep, can I give a word?
Yes, Sylvia, go ahead, please.
Hi, nice seeing you all. Sorry, I came late, so I couldn't hear all the students. But just after the previous comment and your comment regarding the COVID and the impact, I was kind of shocked. Just this weekend, we started to do some contact with the fishermen of several communities, and it's very interesting to see the different reaction towards COVID, but also to realize the only things that didn't stop was construction. So it's just a huge change in the coastal area, given the development with this blue economic context, the eolic parks. So I was really, I couldn't say the words, but how this has been growing. And I just looking at the presentation of Derek about this integration, maybe even towards secondary information or sources of information, in some of these case studies or in the general context to see how some people say that we can look at COVID as an opportunity or as a threat, no? So in which cases could be an opportunity or a threat on how people have been responding. So some people look at the development as an opportunity to leave the fisheries. So they are into construction. And for them is an opportunity. So it's just a comment regarding all these issues of vulnerability, and also congratulations to the whole team.
Absolutely, yes.
So Sylvia, good to hear you. Did I see you? I'm not sure. Yeah, so good to hear you, and thanks for the comment, because I think what you're saying is we should try to look at things, look at both sides of things, right? If I get you well, I mean, COVID could be actually, we could turn it around and actually benefit from it as a society, right? Yeah.
What
So,
I mean is not for us. It could be my perception that something is wrong or it's bad, and how they are getting it. It's just, it's to see how people have been responding. And even to me, it's bad that this is always taking over, grabbing the beach. But for them, it's an opportunity.
Yeah,
It was in that direction to see how people are perceiving the changes. Some people are so scared of the new varieties of COVID we are facing. So this is another issue of how they are feeling that they are getting out. And then suddenly the new, I don't know how many are there. It was regarding that.
Yeah, but Sylvia, even for us, right, there are ways this could I mean, I'm always looking for silver linings in this kind of situations, because we have been hit by something. The key thing is for us to do the best so that we don't let it take us down. We see the good things there and improve it. For example, I don't want to travel like I'm doing before. I mean, and this thing has made me realize I can do a lot of work. Look at us from all over the world. We're working, right? So how about I grab that one? So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And you know, we're at the fork of the road where either we start building more walls, a la Mr. Trump, or we know that, look, for the world, for us all to do, we all have to do well for the world to do well. You get it? And how you take this can actually mean a world of a difference, right? You know. So anyway, I just thought it's good you at least highlighted that. And now I have to go and leave you guys alone. I have to move on. Thank you so much. Wonderful group, amazing work, and we keep pushing forward. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rashid. And yeah, thanks. So yeah, I mean, I agree. That question of how people are perceiving some of these changes and the vulnerabilities and opportunities for viability is really important. I suspect as a group, the V2V, we probably have a common set of values in many ways when it comes to these things, and probably share a lot of perspectives on this. So keeping a very open mind to how different people are going to be perceiving these changes is really crucial for us as we move forward. So I think that's a great point. Looking at the time as well, I think it's been really great to just get some of these reflections and really interesting insights from everybody, and some nice chats as well. Maybe we just continue the conversation as we move forward. There's gonna be lots of great things happening, and maybe that's a great segue to hand it over to Prateep, just talk a little bit about future directions and where we're going to go, and then wrap things up.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
yep.
Yes.
Yep. Let's put on presenter mode, and then you're good to go.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Derek, and everyone for those wonderful reflections. Yes, the issues, the new ones and the old ones in with new colors and shapes, are going to pop up, and that's a challenge. We need to kind of address within the framework of V2V research itself. So I thought, maybe it's a good idea to look at the next year. So okay, we have done several things, as we already saw, within the last 1 year, and that ranges from setting up project processes, governance, management, coordination, to actually getting into the thick of research domains, and also kind of stepping out into the knowledge domain and taking it out to the world, in many ways. And the college that Derek showed, I think it's a wonderful image to show the diversity of ways knowledge, dealing with knowledge and taking knowledge forward is possible, even if you're stuck at home. So we didn't start with those a particular way of doing it. But we did change our course of action, and we get to knowledge dissemination and knowledge products, and sharing knowledge in different ways. So those are very inspiring in many ways. So looking at the next year, so we are going to be in year 2. We are already in year 2. So we are following, for different purposes, we follow different, cycles of year. So for finance it is different, for research it is different. But July 6th is an important day, because last year July 6th we met for the first time to do the inception. So July 6th is important. It's not actually the 1 year, so we have 1 year past. So looking at the next year, of course it's very easy to say that we'll continue to strengthen the ongoing V2V initiatives in all areas that we have been talking about in the past hour or so. That ranges from governance, partnership development and strengthening, to research activities and knowledge. Of course, once we are out of the COVID, we are going to strengthen further our team, both at the country levels and at the secretariat level, with the new postdocs joining, new research personnel coming in, and students are able to travel and bring in new energy. So that is going to change. So we plan to continue this, but also add new stuff over the next 1 year. Partnership, yes, we'll continue with bringing in new partners, very strategic and also very meaningful partners to continue our work on the V2B, and that would not be only at the global level, but also will be at the country level, and that work is already ongoing, and we'll continue to strengthen that partnership development and building process at all levels. Research, as was evident from Derek's presentation, now the situational analysis will get a nice cover of working papers. And then the challenge is to take it forward. The issues that are emerging or will emerge from those situational analysis will feed into the IADAPT process, but also create new avenues of partnership and work. So we will be following that trend as well. So, and at the same time, the IADAPT case studies will start to take place. We are in the ethics process already at Waterloo, and once our ethics is approved, once the world open up, hopefully we will be out in the field working shoulder to shoulder with our community, partners and friends and colleagues to do our iAdapt case studies. So research will continue, and knowledge, will continue. That collage, again, is very, very dominant on my brain at this point in time. We'll continue on all of those images that we saw in terms of our knowledge products and add many more. You might see V2B books coming out, V2B thesis coming out, definitely with so many students. So there would be new frontiers in how we will bring in knowledge and focus on knowledge and disseminate and share knowledge in the future. So all those 4 areas are going to be part of the next year's outlook in terms of V2B research and other activities. Of course, you saw this conceptual methodological diagram already explained very well in many other previous forums, and also Derek spoke about it. Why I brought this up here is that iAdapt has been developing as a strong methodological framework, but what we will aim to do, and we are kind of getting ideas and inspiration from many of our members and collaborators and co-applicants, is to look at the conceptual and the thematic areas that are couched within that framework itself. That ranges from well-being, sustainable livelihoods, to political ecology, to governance, to adaptive capacity, social ecological systems. So having started a strong process of methodological framework implementation and development, next year probably would see some thematic, conceptual and thematic task groups coming in and bringing in their expertise to dig deeper into each of these conceptual areas and their interconnections. So that is something that we would start definitely, and we're in discussions with some of you, but we will bring this up for a larger discussion and create those forums for conceptual and thematic development within our framework. We will, of course, see, as I already mentioned, all our 5 working groups, 4 of them directly linked to each of these 4 objectives, the 4 V2V objectives, but also the knowledge mobilization. So we will see all of those becoming fully functional and fully active, and doing wonderful job of delivering to the objectives, and also connecting with each other, because these working groups are not standalone. They are not going to work in their own silos. They are going to connect with each other. And you saw TD capacity development working group already present within the iAdapt framework that Derek presented. So you will see each one of them doing wonderful work, but also connecting with each other in the next year. Work on the V2V regional teams, that is one of the layers that we talked about in the country context. So we will start working on the Africa and Asia regional teams, which will bring these 6 countries in each of these regions to kind of talk about broader issues, regional context-specific issues, and ways to respond to them, and then try to capture those issues within their work itself. We will start to take stock and also start preparations for the short midterm review. It's not next year, but I put that up here so that we all know, and we all kind of also keep that in perspective, because October 2023 we have this big midterm evaluation report that we need to submit, and the further continuation of the project would rely on successfully being approved at that level by SUC. So that's a big milestone that is coming up. So I wanted to highlight that in the year 2, so that we don't lose sight of it. We can so taking stock and start preparations for the SUC midterm report. I'm sure that with the wonderful group that we are already, and the strong partnership and the strong kinds of work that is already there, which we revisited kind of a few minutes before, there should not be any, but we need to work on delivering that midterm review report, and I just wanted to alert all of us so that we don't lose sight of it. And then, of course, I'm very, very optimistic, like I was in the last meet and greet last year, that hopefully the next meet and greet or a big event of V2V would be in person somewhere out in the real world. So and I remain hopeful with that particular highlight that I'm bringing in terms of the outlook of next year. So I'm really, looking forward to be in person and see you, see you all in person, probably within a year or so for our next big event. So those are, and this is not an all-inclusive list. I just highlighted some of that. There are many things that are going to happen at the country level, at the regional level, and the global level. That will be driven by our members and partners and all the friends and colleagues within the partnership itself. So before I hand it over for some announcements by Seville, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say big thanks to everyone that have contributed to all the presentations that were made, but to all of you to kind of, be able to take time to come and share your reflections, listen to some of the things together that we have achieved over the last 1 year. And believe it or not, these are big motivations. These events are going to be dominating our minds in terms of motivating us for the next year. And we'll revisit some of these discussions as we go along the path of delivering for the next year in V2V partnership. So stay safe and stay well, and we'll continue this discussion and interactions. And looking forward to the next year in a big way to achieve certain milestones and provide you another set of highlights around this time next year. Thank you very much. Over to Seville for some announcements.
Absolutely, Ratana, if it's okay, I will move on and then we can open a round again for you. So am I audible clearly?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So thanks, Pratik, again. I'm just going to announce a few upcoming V2V events. First, I would like to talk about the upcoming newsletter. As you might know, the official newsletter of the V2V Global Partnership under the title of V2V Commons launched in January 2021, and the 4th edition will be released on the 15th of July, just 1 week later from now on. And we always invite our members to participate in the content of these newsletters and represent their teams and countries. And we are truly grateful to those who put their time and effort to represent their works. As Derek mentioned already, we always welcome a wide range of content from you members, like new publications, awards received, any working group progress, and then insights, of course, regarding past V2V events, including this one, and any artistic submissions, poem, drawing, photo, song, and video. Next, I would like to talk about the upcoming thematic webinar on the 30th of July. Michaela Haina, who is a professor in the Department of Psychology and the Center for Refugee Studies at York University in Canada, is going to deliver a presentation on the nature of the migration and consequences for communities left behind in 6 sites across 3 countries, India, Nepal, and Canada. She's going to speak about an intersectional analysis of migration as an adaptation strategy in communities relying on small-scale fisheries. I'm personally very excited about this webinar because in addition of getting to know about this interesting topic, I know Professor Michaela is one of the inspirational speakers. So I highly recommend you to join us live on YouTube to watch this upcoming webinar and participate in its Q&A session. We have already sent an email regarding this webinar, and I'm going to send reminders also. So stay tuned. At the end, I would like to talk about the upcoming V2V Field School. And I assume that our grad students and early career researchers are waiting to hear an update regarding it. So the Field School is going to be held from 7th to 14th of August. The theme of this year is Rethinking Coastal Sustainability and Development. As you might know, Pratik and Drake have been organizing an annual Field School on environmental change and governance in the Chilika Lagoon, India over the past few years. Starting this year, the Field School will expand its scope to include participants from V2V and provide a platform to V2V grad students and early career researchers to build capacity and engage in key debates on vulnerability to viability related issues. The Field School will be held remotely this year due to the COVID-related challenges, unfortunately, but we expect to return to Chilika Lagoon, India in August 2022, hopefully. So to those who registered, please stay tuned. I know you're waiting as we are going to contact you very soon regarding this Field School. At the end, I would like to thank all of you once more. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter and visit our website. And of course, feel free to contribute to V2V activities such as newsletter and photo of the week. I'm going to publish the links of our website and Twitter and email address to the chat section. So now I would like to pass it on again to Pratip to wrap up the session. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ratana, please.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know whether there's still time to do this or not, but just wanted to say thanks to everyone and congratulations. But I also wanted to plug in a little bit about next year, right? Looking ahead. Next year is an international year for artisanal fisheries and aquaculture. So I would hope that I'm in the international steering committee for the event, and I'm hoping that there'll be a great show of V2V there. But there's another event that we have been part of, which is the 4th World Small Scale Fisheries Congress. And just want to take a few minutes to share with you what we're planning to do. Given that COVID might still be a little bit of a challenge for travel, we're actually thinking that we would go into the region and have these regional congresses. So there'll be 5 regional congresses happening next year. And you'll be pleased to know that at least 2, if not 3, of the V2V members will be hosting those events. And that is something that I would like to invite V2V to be partner to the organization. So, so Yinji is going to host it in Japan, hopefully, right, Yinji? Thank you. April, May, if the Olympic can happen this year, Yinji can host the Congress for Asia Pacific region next year. And then we would go to South Africa with Moniba, hopefully. Later in the year, say in November, that will be for the continent, for the African continent. So I'm hoping that at least these 2 regions that are very strongly embedded, the V2V can use that opportunity for the regional meeting, the collaboration, and etc. that you would do. Well, we are hosting one as well in St. John's, and that would be for North America. So hopefully students in Waterloo and, the project can also be part of that. If you never come to St. John's, it's a beautiful summer, although now it's feel like winter, but that's because it just came back. And I'm not going to announce much more, but perhaps in Europe, there will be a coffee meeting in Rome. So FAO is hosting coffee. That will be in September, and that's supposed to be for Europe. But again, that's an opportunity for V2V project to be showcasing there. So the other region, of course, is Latin America and the Caribbean. I'm twisting my colleague's arm here and hoping that she would say yes to it. And you would have to guess a little bit in terms of who that would be. But hopefully, if she's still in the room, yeah. Maybe, yes. Okay, maybe there will be a really nice meeting there where we used to go for the Congress in the past. But anyway, so just want to say that just for us to think about, and I think there's a lot of exciting events, both and all those congresses. By the way, there will be live session. Sorry, there'll be in person plus the online version. So that even though you're not in that region or you're not able to travel there, you'll be able to access part of that. And of course, all the videos will be recorded for review. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks, Ratana. Yes, those 2 things that you mentioned, and my apologies. In my own excitement, I keep forgetting things. But yes, they're high on our agenda. And yes, we will be happy to collaborate as a network, and we will work with our partners in each of these regions that you mentioned in contributing as much as we can to the World Small Scale Fisheries, but also the International Year for Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. Yes, of course. Yes, thanks. Okay, so let's bring this to a close. Thank you once again, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Take care. Stay safe.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Pratip, Derek, and the others. Simron, bye-bye. Thank you. Hope see you then. Good, healthy. Ratana.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Simran.